morning. Welcome to Walnut Lodge's Saturday morning flow. It's kind of a dreary day out there and hard to wake up. But here we are. I see Corey out there. Thanks for being there, Corey. And I'm going to do like a therapeutic class today. It's going to involve a lot of hip stretches and back stretches. You know, it's the hard to believe, but this is the end of the first 5 weeks. So I'm going to kind of change my plan for, you know, the what I kind of do for the rest of it, which is pretty, you know, vigorous, and we're gonna kick back a little bit. Lots of people are suffering from allergies, sinus problems, and this is going to be a class with a lot of breathing. If you have a sandbag, that will be useful. If you don't have a sandbag, a pillow will do. We're going to need a strap and a block, and we will probably use a bolster. So a bolster or some kind of pillow. All right. So we don't need that right away, but if you have a sandbag or something similar, that can be useful. Like I said, if you don't have a sandbag, no big deal.
Lisa and Cheryl said hello too.
Oh, Lisa and Cheryl. Hi, guys. Ready to wake up and then relax? All right. So we're going to start with our knees tied together. All right, and we'll need the block right at the beginning. All right. The other thing, sorry, is that at one point, I'm going to put my feet up on either my tree or the railing. So you might need to move to a chair would work, a wall would work, anything where we can get our feet up. All right, but that's going to be, you know, just a little bit. All right, so laying on our backs. We just got out of bed. Maybe you're stiff. Maybe you feel great. Just see how your spine is hitting the ground. I feel pretty lopsided, actually. All right, so we're not going to do anything about that, but grab your sandbag if you have it. And just put it on your lower stomach, right above your pubic bone. All right? And then let that just sink into your abdominal cavity. So just keep relaxing. And then nice, easy belly breath. Push the inhale into the sandbag and then just relax. If you don't have a sandbag, just feel the belly go up to the ceiling. Slow down the breath. Feel the rise of it and then the fall of it. Try to feel the fall go all the way from the exhale to then the sandbag going just a little deeper into your guts. If you don't have a sandbag, just feel the utter release of those muscles. We're not using our stomach yet to push any air out. Just Inhale up into the sandbag, exhale, release. Now try to make those breaths just a little bigger. Push the sandbag up and towards the thighs. And then release the breath. And then push the air out by engaging the abdominals. You'll feel that low back press into the ground. Push the air out. Feel the release at the end of the inhale, where it becomes the exhale, and the end of the exhale, where it becomes the inhale. So actively pushing the sandbag to the thighs, actively pushing the waist into the ground. Feel the pelvis move into that anterior tilt on the inhale and the posterior tilt on the exhale. Just a couple more. What's kind of nice about starting this slow is that, if you have tightness in the low back because it's such a small movement, you can really isolate it, exactly kind of where it's coming from. And then this is just very beginning movement to start kind of releasing that. Breathe at any pace that feels good to you. Just one more big inhale and exhale. And then just release that. Move the heels in as close to your sit bones as you can. And then we're going to drop both knees to the right. Alright, and then if you want, take that sandbag and just put it on the top thigh. It's going to give you a little bit more stretch across that left hip. It'll go into that low back and into the waist. I can't get my shoulder down when I have my thighs, really pressing into the ground here. So we're going to continue that rocking breath just right here. So it's going to be inhale, push your pelvis towards your thighs. Lift that up into the left side of the rib cage and into your armpit. And then when you exhale, just try to release that left shoulder down a little bit more. Let that inhale really move the rib and the armpit up to the ceiling so that you can feel more of a drop when you exhale. Because when you associate that drop with a release, sometimes you can get a little bit more release in other places. I need it in that top hip. So it's helping me just to find a way to let go just a little bit more of that line from my trochanter down that left thigh, actually into my back. Couple more. And then we're going to roll back to center. Inhale, exhale, roll. And then if you have a sandbag, just let it go. Feel the difference of those two sides, which is really big if you're using the sandbag. And then drop the knees to the left. Sandbag on your thigh. Left shoulder wherever it is. And same thing. Inhale. Pelvis towards your thighs and then up into the armpit through the rib cage with an exhale. Dropping that down. Big inhale. Push it up. Exhale, let it fall. Couple more. And then inhale, exhale, roll, center. Release that sandbag. Couple easy belly breaths here. I'm starting to feel even again. All right, moving on though. So roll up and grab your block. Now we're going to put the block, the edge, right where your lumbars hit your sacrum. All right? And then drop over. Sorry, don't drop over. Just feel it on your back and then come back up. Reach your hands forward. All right? So you can put your hands down and feel that to help. It'll just help you curve forward. All right, now you're going to engage abdominals, and you're going to exhale, pull forward, inhale back, exhale forward, inhale back. Little baby sit-ups, really. But what I want you to try to do, it's hard to feel here. So just do a couple more of these. This is just to kind of let that space in the back work a little bit. One more. Come up. I'm going to put your elbows or your hands down here. All right? That block is still up against your back. I'm going to bend my knees. I'm going to try to pull my sacrum to the ground. So I'm going to try to pull into a posterior tilt. I can't get it there. If you have a hard time feeling this posterior tilt, take your pelvis and push it towards your thighs first, come up off the block, and then pull down. But we just did this. This is the same movement that we did in that rocking breath. It's just more. You're just really pulling more into the ground. So what's the point of this? As we try to pull that sacrum into the ground, we're just really getting a big stretch on that low back. You can also, when you try to pull the sacrum into the ground, take your sit bones and try to move them towards your feet. So you're going to pull the sacrum and then almost scoot your sit bones a little closer to your feet, and you'll feel a little bit more stretch. What's the goal? To make the line from where your back hits the block to your sit bones as long as possible. All right, so what happens if we add this to the upper body? We go inhale back just a little bit, exhale, pull your pelvis into the ground, and then feel your ribs pull into your spine. Inhale back, exhale, pull. Inhale back just an inch or two, exhale, pull. Inhale back, exhale, pull. Couple more. Inhale back, exhale, pull, sit bones reach. Inhale back, exhale, pull, sit bones reach. One more. Inhale back, exhale, pull. All right, now we're going to go all the way back to the ground. Put your head on your bolster or maybe your sandbag if you need it. So knees can stay bent. Just let the spine adjust to the block. It's for me, it's harder in the morning. I'm sure it's harder for you guys also. You know, once things start stretching, it feels great. It's just the first like minute. If you don't need the sandbag, just don't use it, or the block, or the bolster, or a towel. When you breathe, feel the lower edges of the ribs go up to the ceiling. Tuck your chin into your chest. Use your hands if you need, all right? And then creep your sit bones just a couple inches forward. So the edge of that block now hits you a couple inches above your spine, all right? And we're in this crunch position. So first, try to pull the sacrum onto the ground and release. Pull it. Use your feet. You can try to scoot those sit bones towards your feet. Now we're going to do that with a little bit of a crunch movement. You can have your hands here or reach them forward. It's a little more difficult here. So inhale, go back a couple inches. Exhale, pull the ribs, pull the sacrum, reach your sit bones. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale. Feel that sacrum. It can almost get to the whole thing on the ground, right? My waist is nowhere near, but I can feel my sacrum on the ground, especially if I try to scoot my sit bones towards my knees. Couple more. Just focus on that stretch, right? You can feel it, that whole line from the edge of the block to the sit bones is getting longer. When you inhale, feel those ribs release and go up. So is this an abdominal workout? Well, I guess it is, right? First thing in the morning. So this is not like it's not like a restorative class, but my therapeutic class has all kinds of things in it that are not that easy. Therapeutic, but not easy. Okay, one more. And then again, let it go. Now here, my head's just going to hang. I can't reach the floor at first. Let the ribs go. But now my head's on the ground. Just takes a little bit. You need to really feel the spine contract as you try to push the ribs up. Couple more breaths here. And that. Tuck your chin. Hands behind your head. Pull. Come up. Now, wiggle your sit bones forward. Block is not quite underneath the tips of my shoulder blades. It's just a little bit. We're going to do one more position. Alright, so now the same thing. First, just pull that sacrum onto the ground. You should be able to get most of it down now, right? And then we can add the ribs a little bit. So inhale, exhale, sacrum down, ribs pull. Inhale, release. Exhale, sacrum down. Release. Exhale, sacrum down. Scoot your sit bones towards your feet. Release. Exhale, pull. Release. Exhale, pull. Release. Exhale, pull. Release. Exhale. So the upper body here it's easier, right? To do these little baby crunches. But what's nice here is you can really get that whole sacrum to the ground, really pull it, and feel again the stretch from that bottom edge where your back is hitting that edge to your tailbone. That whole line gets longer as you push the back into the floor on the exhales. Couple more. Inhale, release. Exhale, pull. Inhale, release. Exhale, pull. One more. Inhale, release. Exhale, pull. Inhale, release. All the way down. So that block now is kind of underneath your shoulder blades. Just relax there. Couple more. And then, hands behind your head, tuck your chin, come on up. One more time, slide forward. This is the last position. So right now, I can feel the edge of the block hitting my shoulder blades. All right, first just push your spine onto the ground. Yep, so you should be able to get your whole waist down onto the ground. Some people won't. So if you're one of those people, don't worry about it. Just get it closer than what it is right now. So we go. Inhale. Let your ribs go up a little to the ceiling. Then exhale. Pull waist to the ground. Rib cage down towards your spine. Inhale. Exhale. Pull. Inhale. Exhale. Pull. Inhale. Exhale, pull. Inhale, exhale, pull. Feel the sit bones move towards your feet. It's just a little scoot under. Inhale at this point. Exhale, pull. Scoot them. And you'll feel your hamstrings and your glutes. Exhale, pull. Inhale. Exhale, pull. Inhale. Exhale, pull. Inhale, 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 exhale, pull. Couple more. Inhale, exhale, pull. Inhale, exhale, pull. Inhale, exhale, pull. One more. Inhale, exhale, pull. Inhale. Now, scoot just a little bit more. And so then what will happen is you can catch the back of your skull right with the top edge of the block. And then just keep going. Until your skull is on the block and your chin is pretty much pressed into your spine. Just giving your neck a little bit of a stretch. And then take your block and tilt the bottom edge up to the bottom of the skull, right where the skull hits the top of the neck. Right? You can, if mine stays pretty well, if you have to hold it, hold it. It's just giving the neck a little bit more stretch. And then we're going to do on our own timing, we're going to take our nose an inch or two to the right and then back. And you can feel that edge of the block digging into those muscles at the base of your skull. So we're just going to go to the right and back a couple times. Each time you could go a little bit further. Some people, like my right side, is never tight. Couple more times. It's nice and easy. And then we go to the left. My left side is tighter. Just back and forth. One more time. And then release that block. Lay flat. Now I'm just really flat. And my low back is not stiff. You can try a couple of just easy breaths. Everything is nice and released. That's it's similar to the therapeutic class that I do with the block. Little different. It's not quite as intense, but it has all that abdominal work in it. All right, so we're going to roll to our right side. And if you have the block right there, just use the block. You can also use your bolster. All right. if you use the bolster, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to come to the very edge of the bolster. So if you have the block, I'm putting the point in my armpit, basically, and I'm taking the edge so that I feel like it's in the middle of my spine. Now you can take your right arm forward, and then your head will just dangle, and then you can feel that stretch from the back of the skull through the neck to the upper back. If that's too much, you can put your shoulder underneath your ear. If that's too much, you're going to need to get your bolster or a towel, or you could slide your sandbag. Actually, the sandbag would be the kind of the perfect height if you have one, right? So there. But I like my head to dangle here. All right, so that edge, when you roll forward, you're going to put your left hand on the ground. When you roll forward, it just is going to kind of dig into the side of you, right? And if you keep going forward, you feel it almost kind of pulling the muscle towards your serratus muscle and your lat muscle back towards that shoulder blade. So what we're going to do is our left hand is down, and we're just going to rock forward and back using our hand, right? I'm just trying to let that edge kind of dig in. It feels good in a weird sort of way, right? We don't really ever do this to our lat or our serratus muscles. It's just pulling it into a stretch, right? Couple more of these only. And then when I roll all the way forward, I can feel myself rolling over my shoulder blade. If I roll back here, I can feel myself rolling on that shoulder blade too. And so actually that is a little sore for me, just the shoulder blade. All right, so we're going to take our hand, stretch it up to the ceiling, and then reach it over our ear. You can feel that nice long line. The knees are bent through the armpit and down to the waist. Yeah. All right, so we're going to make circles with the arms, and we're going to let the torso go with us. So we're going to go back. As we go back, we kind of roll onto that block, and then pull the arm towards you. Let it go up and over. Take it to the ground, and then reach it forward. Let the hand go in front of your right arm, all the way around, up and over. You'll flip over that shoulder blade, pull it. So two things are going on here. You feel this lovely rotation, super easy, except for people that have rotator cuff issues. You'll get to a place where it's painful. Might you need to pull up a little bit, but always push out of it. Just go through that range of motion. And then the other thing is this massage that you're getting on the lower side as you roll back and forth over the shoulder blade. Couple more of these. Try to reach that hand way forward. That will just make you roll off the block forward. So why am I doing this? Why are you doing this? Because we're really stretching the connections of the shoulder blade into the chest. Why would you want to do this? Well, it's going to help you breathe a little bit better. It's going to open that whole line up. One more. When your chest gets to the place where it's facing the ceiling, just stay there. Now, my left shoulder blade is just dangling off the block and relaxing my neck. My right knee is down. I actually have to kind of hold it down a little bit. Feel the twist of it. Breathe those ribs up to the ceiling. Now we're going to slowly take the knees to the ceiling, ease that left shoulder blade down to the ground, and then move the block. That's the hardest part. Lay on your back. Now just breathe into your chest. And you can feel that side release of the rib. Right? That whole side is lower and flatter. I can actually feel a release into my jaw. I feel like my left shoulder is 2 inches from my earlobe. And my right shoulder blade is almost to my waist. Of course, that's not where they are, but that is kind of what they feel like. All right, now we're going to do the other side. So, same thing. I'm going to have my back to you. I usually don't. When I'm teaching, I always try to keep my face to the student, so I switch back and forth. But here, it might be useful to see the back. I don't know. I've never seen myself from the back. All right, so the edge of the block goes right in the middle of the rib cage. The point is going to push up into my armpit, right? My knees are bent. My right hand is on the ground. And I'm going to let my head dangle. And then, using my right arm, I'm going to lean forward, taking the chest almost to the floor, and then feeling that block dig into my rib cage. It's super sore on this side. And then push back up, feel the shoulder blade, and go back down. Pushing it back and forth. Use that right arm to push you back and forth. Couple more here. All right. Adding the arm. Reach that right arm up and over. Couple breaths just right here. Feeling that armpit, rib cage. Then circle to the back. Feel yourself roll over that shoulder blade. Circle it down. Take it up and over your hip. Reach it forward. Try to keep it on the ground, around and over your head. Nice and slow. I like my head dangling here because I get a nice neck stretch. I know that some people cannot do that. So if your head was just rolling back and forth on a towel, that would be good too. And then just really try to pay attention to both in one and then the other. Reach that arm. Feel that shoulder blade move as that arm travels around in that circle. I can really feel the shoulder blade pretty clearly right now. As I push my arm forward, I can feel that stretch all the way down into the waist. So spend a little time there, right? And then shift your attention to just rocking and rolling back and forth over this shoulder blade. And it's funny because my shoulder blade isn't sore at all on this side. But that front serratus line, that is kind of right in the middle of the side ribs. As that edge digs into that, I can feel that for some reason is sore. And then you have these lovely big twists going on. One more big circle. And then just stay in that twist. Relax. That right shoulder is pretty much hanging off the block. You're getting a little bit more twist than normal because of the position of the block underneath the left shoulder blade. Relax your neck. The strap is helping you with that twist. Your left knee is pushing into the ground. I have to push it just a little bit. Big inhales into the right side of your chest. And then let that right shoulder roll to the ground, slide off the block, lay flat, feel your back. And then roll to your right side. Unstrap yourself. And come up to sitting. Alright, so we're going to sit on our feet. If you want to sit on your block or your bolster, you can do that. We're not going to be here that long. Grab your strap again. And this time, make a shoulder width loop. Just a little bit more chest, so we open it a little bit. So what's kind of nice about doing those positional stretches with the block is that it goes underneath your normal patterning. Now what we're going to do now is we're going to be using what we normally use, right? So let's just see, for those of you that feel like you have restrictions there, see if this is going to give you a little bit more. And then you know that if you feel like any side of you is restricted, the armpit is restricted, now you have something like that can maybe help that. Alright, so I'm going to come up onto my knees because I like the way this feels better on my knees. I'm going to walk back. So as you come up onto your knees, just take those sit bones and push them down towards your knees, right? You don't have to, you can stay sitting. Alright, push out on the strap, roll the shoulders back, right? And release. And again, push out on the strap. I'm going to go back just a little bit further. And release. Oh, I got a little halo going. Alright. My hair's glowing. Alright, keep the shoulders down and then pull them up. Up and back, chin down. Now before we even do any pushing and pulling, my arms are right beside my ears. Breathe your ribs forward. Feel that big, expansive chest breath. Chest breathing is not something that you want to do on a regular basis, but when you're in a yoga class and we're trying to open up things, you want to use all of those muscles to open the space of the ribs. Now let's start pushing out on the arms. Inhale, push out on the arms. Exhale. Inhale, pushing out on the arms. Exhale. And pushing out on the arms. Exhale. And pushing out on the arms. Exhale. One more. And pushing out on the arms. Keep them there. Drop your chin. So your shoulders are pulling down and they're pushing out on the strap. You're not letting that go. Now just add a big chest breath to that. You can.
Corey said her shoulder blades are sore.
Oh, isn't that weird? It's so weird. You can kind of look up. Feel that upper back. Couple more. And then release the shoulders. And coming down just as sitting if you're up on your knees. And then just relax the shoulders. So Corey has reported, I don't know if you heard James, that her shoulder blades are sore. Well, tension, we can have tension anywhere. A lot of people hold tension in the upper back. And if that's you, then your shoulder blades might be sore once, that releases. A lot of people hold tension in their guts. That's one nice thing about the breathing with the sandbag. That can really help release tension there. So if you have those kinds of issues, and you don't have a sandbag, try to get something that can, mimic that. Or it's cheap to make a sandbag. All right. So we're going to do one more stretch of the shoulders, and then we're going to go to the hips. So your strap is already at shoulder width. We're going to come to sitting. And we're going to put that behind our spine, fingers towards us, walk them back. And then make that as tight as possible. Push out on that strap. And then lift your chest. And you feel the front of the shoulders open. You can see my chest is really, you can really get your chest up here when you do this. Right? Make sure that you can push out on that strap with your, basically, your wrist, lower part of the arm. And then just breathe that chest up. We're just going to hold this. I've been doing this in my foundations class. I find this very useful. Anything that opens our chest is good. Couple more. Keep pressing all the fingers. Feel the ribs from the lower edge scoop up. Try to get that whole rib cage involved. So feel the shoulder blades go all the way down, almost to the waist, and then scoop under and feel the lower edges of the ribs going up. One more. And release. Feel the curve of it. And then we're going to come into a child pose. Actually, child pose or just sit. I've been getting easier drop of the shoulders in the sit than in the child pose after that. Now, for some people, if you can interlace your fingers behind your back and stretch your arms straight and lift your chest, you'll get the same kind of stretch as you do with that strap. But there's something about, if you have never done it, there's something about pushing out with the strap that really engages underneath the chest. So even if you have all of that mobility, it's really nice to do that. All right, we're going to come into an easy down dog just to stretch the back of our calves. And then from the down dog, we're going to go into a squat. All right. So if you can't squat, or you want to squat on top of your bolster because your knees aren't kind of ready for that, just feel free to do that. I'm just going to fade. We're not going to be in here in this too long, so feel your hands nice and wide. Tuck your toes, and then just up you go. So keep your knees bent first and push away from your hands. I have all this shoulder mobility. It feels completely unrestricted. All right, so then shift your attention then to your legs. Push your right heel into the ground. Keep the push going from the fingers to your sit bones. Pull your quad up. And just relax into that hip socket as you get a nice calf stretch. And then shift to your left leg. Press through both. Keep lifting those sit bones. All right. Walk the hands back. And then coming down into a squat. Parallel at first. If your heels come up, your heels come up. Keep relaxing in the ankles, letting the torso go over. Shift forward and stretch the legs to straight. Roll those thighs in. Forward bend. And then turning your feet out, coming down into a squat with the knees open. And stay there. Couple more breaths. And then shift forward. Weight on your hands and stretch up. Keep the legs there. And then wiggle them back into the middle. Feet together, roll those thighs in. Lift the outside edges of your feet, especially at the base of that little toe. Couple more breaths. And then come on down to your knees. All right, just sit here for a couple breaths. All right, so we're going to go into a long stretch. And I think I'm going to do it facing you because it involves pretty much like the straddle aspect of the split. First, I'm going to get a little drink. All right. Now, open your knees as much as you can first. Toes are together. Now, what we're going to do is you're going to take your pelvis forward and then tuck it under. Yeah, and my low back feels really good. So we're just going to go forward and back with our knees open as much as possible. Just to kind of get a read on that, right? Now come forward onto your elbows and just little rocks just to open the inner thigh up a little bit more, right? I'm on a carpet. If I wasn't, I'd put something underneath my knees. So we're in a frog stretch with a little bit of motion. Toes are together. Inner thighs are stretching just a little bit more here. Not going to do a giant stretch. And then take yourself forward till your chest is down. Your feet will go up probably. And then we're going to just roll, windshield wiper those heels. And you want to feel your thigh, that head of the femur, rotate in the socket, and then let your pelvis go, right? Just let the whole thing go. Couple more. Let the legs go straight. And then push back to a child pose. And roll up. All right, so inner thigh, right? Just a little more than when we land our backs and open, because that's what we're going to do. We're going to do a really long stretch with a strap, but we're going to add the straddle and then the forward leg. When you take your leg into the straddle, sometimes, we have a hard time dropping down into that position. When you do the straddles this way, gravity kind of just makes you go down. And then why we do it on the knees is so that, you don't have to, you don't compromise that joint. You're above that stretch of that joint. All right. So coming back to sitting, we're going to do a big loop. And why we do this big loop is so that you can relax more. If you have to hold your leg the whole time, then it's not that you can't do it, right? It's just that you have to spend the whole time holding your leg. Whereas if you have a strap, now what's going to happen is your back is going to hold the leg and you can just let go. So this is how I figure out if my strap is long enough. If I can get my legs straight, and you really want to have it at the ball of the foot so that you don't miss the calf stretch. For me, that's the most restricted part of this stretch. All right. I have my sockies on because I forgot to take them off. And I love my sockies. My feet are nice and warm. So we're going to come down onto our back, right? My left leg all of a sudden bends. Why is that? My hip flexor is a little tight. Now, if you want, grab the sandbag and put it on the top of your thigh. And that's going to encourage that drop. Might take a little bit of time, right? So, you can also just feel that left heel and you're just going to push that left heel out gently and then let that sandbag help you. All right? So, right leg is as straight as you can get it. I have my head on the blocks because it's easier to talk here. And we're just going to stay here for a couple minutes in this position. So for me, this isn't hamstring, it's calf, and it's the outside. And remember, this leg is wherever it needs to be to give you a stretch. All right, now bend the left foot, sole of the foot on the ground. Now you're just going to slide on the strap that right leg to the side. Keep that left hip down. So if you bend that left knee, it's kind of easier to hold that into the ground. And actually the sandbag can help too. So you're going to go all the way to the side as far as you can. And then just relax that socket. That strap is going to be pulling the leg into the joint. It actually should feel pretty good. And just relax there. Now slowly pull the leg back center and then keep going. You can have the leg down or the shoulder down or both if you can get it. I have to choose. And then slowly bend your knee first. Roll back to center. Take your leg out. And then at first, just both legs long. And then other side. Sandbag on that right leg if you're going to use it. Feel that heel. This hamstring or the hip flexor on my right leg is not as tight. So I can, pretty much get that leg nice and flat. So, the sandbags, they really help when you're lopsided. Just a little bit of weight. You can really feel the difference. It's just enough pressure to try to release that joint a little bit for you. And then don't, be surprised here if one leg is different than the other. But remember, you have to be in a place where straight is straight. Now, when I went to the side with that right leg, I had to put something underneath my leg in the twist because that line in my knee is so painful that I couldn't go all the way down and feel any kind of release. So, when you're going to the side, that can always be an option also. You have to be able to deal with whatever the pain is. If you can't, or let's just call it discomfort, right? You have to be able to deal with the discomfort. If you can't, then you can't relax into it, and then you're never going to get anywhere because you're pulling back and bracing from things all the time. So you're just trying to figure out a way to let go. And that's why I like the strap here in the chest, because you can let your arms go. All right, now slide that leg to the side, bend your right leg. It's just easier to keep, you want to keep that right side of your back on the ground, and then just let that leg go where it's going to go. All right, so we slowly pull leg up and then take it to the side. And I'm going to do the same thing on this leg. I'm going to put something underneath it so that I can just deal with that pain at the side of my knee. And breathe. And then slowly bend your knee, roll back to center, and then let both legs go. A little corpse position here, not be here too long, just let the legs roll. Let your low back and spine release. And then big inhale. Exhale, roll to your right side. And that's it for this morning. I hope you all feel as good as I do. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your support. And enjoy the rest of your day. Namaste.